The Netherlands just turned down $100 million.
Because the thing being sold was how 18 million people prove who they are.
To their doctor, to their bank, to their government.
And someone decided that's not actually for sale. The platform is called DigiID. One credential, not for one thing, for everything. Medical records, tax filings, property closings, every formal moment in a Dutch citizen's life runs through the same login.
And an American firm put in $100 million to own it.
Which, on paper, looks like a normal acquisition. Private company buys digital infrastructure, government gets liquidity, everyone moves on.
But the Dutch government looked at what they were actually selling and said no.
Because what was being sold wasn't software. It was the ability to decide at a technical level who gets to be a citizen in the digital sense of that word, who can prove they are who they say they are.
There's a concept in security called a single point of failure. One thing that if it breaks or behaves badly, breaks everything downstream. DigiID is that. If you can't authenticate, you can't see a doctor through the system. You can't pay what you owe. You can't close on a house.
And authentication isn't passive. The company that runs that system makes constant decisions about uptime, about data retention, about which governments or agencies get access to what. Operational decisions that look technical but are actually political.
The Netherlands is one of the most digitized countries on Earth. Somewhere around 85% of government interactions happen through platforms like this. So they didn't build something and then discover it mattered. They built it knowing it mattered and then had to decide what that means when someone offers to buy it.
What's strange is that $100 million is not a lot of money for a country to walk away from. That's not a sovereign wealth fund decision. That's closer to a budget line, which tells you the conversation was never really about money.
It was about whether digital infrastructure belongs in the same category as roads and power grids, things that can be privately operated in some contexts, but where ultimate control stays with the state because the consequence of losing it is too large.
Estonia built something similar in the early 2000s and designed it from the start to be stateless, meaning the data isn't held in one place a foreign government or company could seize. The Dutch system wasn't built that way.
And now every country watching this has to ask whether theirs was. Governments deciding who touches their money. Meanwhile, a company that already has 60 million people's money just changed what that money is.
Cash App is rolling out stablecoins to its 60 million users. And if you've never heard that word before, a stablecoin is a digital currency that's pegged to the dollar, meaning one coin is always worth $1. It's crypto that doesn't swing wildly in value.
The coin is called USDC, short for USD coin, issued by a regulated financial consortium, not by Cash App itself. And by the end of this week, every single person with Cash App on their phone can send it to anyone else.
Which is a lot of people. 60 million users is roughly 1 in 5 Americans.
And the part that's hard to explain away is who's doing this. Jack Dorsey built Cash App. He's also spent years being very loud about the idea that Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency worth taking seriously. Everything else is noise. That was the whole position.
And now his company is rolling out USDC.
It's not Bitcoin.
His explanation is that customers wanted it.
Which is probably true and also doesn't quite cover it. You don't spend years calling everything but Bitcoin noise and then add it because users asked nicely.
No, it's a clean reversal for someone who staked real credibility on that position.
The thing that catches me is the infrastructure question. When 60 million people can send a digital dollar the same way they send a regular dollar, through an app they already have to people they already know, the distinction between those two things starts to dissolve.
You don't have to understand how it works, you just tap send.
That's exactly when a technology stops being a technology and becomes a habit.
And most of those 60 million people won't think of themselves as crypto users.
The moment that stops being a curiosity and becomes a baseline assumption is when regulators have a real problem on their hands. So there's this attack going around where hackers are getting AI chatbots to recommend fake software, and the fake version installs malware the moment you download it.
Which sounds like a phishing problem we've seen before. Fake download links, spoofed websites, but the AI part changes something.
It changes where the trust lives. When you Google something and click a link, there's at least some awareness that links can be sketchy. When a chatbot tells you download this tool from this place, it feels like advice from something that checked.
And it didn't check, it just sounds like it did. The malware they're delivering is called a cryptojacker, which is software that hijacks your computer's processing power to mine cryptocurrency without you knowing. Your machine does the work, they collect the money, and your electricity bill goes up for no reason you can explain.
And they're specifically going after people with high-end gaming GPUs. Graphics cards, the hardware that makes games look good, also happen to be extremely efficient at the math required for crypto mining.
So the targeting is deliberate. They're not spraying this everywhere hoping for random victims. They want machines worth stealing cycles from.
The tell that something shifted here is the manipulation layer. Someone had to figure out how to get AI systems to surface these fake sites in the first place, either by poisoning training data, flooding the web with convincing fake content, or exploiting how chatbots pull information in real time.
And we don't fully know which one yet. What changes the calculus is that there's no obvious tell. A chatbot giving a poisoned recommendation looks exactly like a chatbot giving a clean one.
The question is whether the chatbots will ever be able to tell the difference between a real recommendation and a planted one. Robinhood just gave AI agents their own brokerage accounts. Real money, real trades, no humans signing off on each move.
So the agent decides, the agent executes, and if it's wrong?
It's wrong with your portfolio. The argument is that this proves AI agents are ready for high-stakes autonomous decisions.
And the counter-argument is also the same experiment.
Real money answers the question faster than any benchmark. What nobody's quite worked out yet is who's responsible when it loses.
A black hole is a point in space where gravity is so extreme that nothing, not even light, escapes it. Webb spotted one that existed 700 million years after the Big Bang.
Which sounds recent until you remember the universe is 13.8 billion years old.
And the strange part isn't that it's old, it's that it was already enormous, supermassive, before its own galaxy existed around it.
The standard explanation for how black holes get that big requires a galaxy first. Stars collapse, merge, accumulate mass over billions of years.
This one skipped all of that.
So either the model is wrong or something was building mass in ways we haven't accounted for, and Webb just handed physicists a problem they don't have an answer to yet.
A group called themselves pro-Iran hacktivists. Hacktivists being loosely organized activists who attack systems for political reasons, hit LA Metro and wiped hundreds of terabytes of data.
But when researchers looked at the actual infrastructure behind the attack,
Iranian government fingerprints. The hacktivist identity was a costume.
they were inside Metro's systems, deleting virtual machines before most writers noticed anything was wrong.
The gap between what an attack looks like and what it actually is keeps getting wider. State operations are deliberately dressing down, presenting as something scrappier and less coordinated than they are.
Because if it looks like activists, nobody calls it an act of state aggression.
Tomorrow's gonna be a good one.
We keep saying that.
We keep being right.
Today had a government deciding what's too important to sell, a payment app quietly redrawing the line between regular money and digital money, and a black hole that existed before the rules said it should.
Tomorrow will have its own version of all of that.
See you then. Singularity Pulse is for informational purposes only. Nothing here is financial, legal, or professional advice. Views expressed are our own.
I'm Knox. Every Saturday on Pulse Deep Dive, one story told in acts. This season, how AI happened, who really invented the internet, and going back to the moon 53 years later. New chapter every Saturday. Find it wherever you listen.
Origins is a different kind of show. Every Sunday, we investigate the forces that shape the modern world, the geography, the science, the commerce, the decisions made centuries ago that are still playing out today. Find it wherever you listen to this podcast.